Hi guys, welcome to week number 8. You are now halfway through the semester. This week's lab is much like last week's. You're going to be using a virtual rock kit to identify several sedimentary rocks. I'm going to go over that particular lab and then I'll talk about the extra credit that's being offered this week. So let's get started. I'm going to go into the weekly lab modules. Again, we are in week number 8. I put this particular picture, it says, I agree with that sediment. Sediment is basically the scientific word for sand or dirt that's going to become compacted and glued together to create what we consider to be a sedimentary rock. So if I go into the actual link, there are several videos that I strongly encourage you watch to help you understand how sedimentary rocks are classified based on texture. This one will definitely help you identify different sedimentary rocks as you walk through your virtual lab kit. The actual link for the actual interactive is here. It's the same one we've been doing the past 2 weeks, but a couple of differences. It says sedimentary rocks are composed of sediment. I just talked about how that's basically sand or dirt, and they're deposited. So imagine the igneous rocks that we talked about last week. It comes out of a volcano. Now it's sitting on the surface of the earth, and the elements of water or rain, wind are going to come along and basically break off little pieces of that. As those little pieces go off into the environment, they're deposited. Over time, more kind of drop on top. They harden together and become what we call sedimentary rock. You will be looking at composition. That's the basis of how they're actually identified. And we will be looking at texture, but texture is a little bit different. Last week for igneous rocks, we said that texture was if it was fine-grained or coarse-grained, depending on if it was inside the earth or outside of the earth. Texture here is going to indicate where it came from. So for example, if it's a clastic rock, we'd have a lot of clastic rocks here in El Paso. That simply means I have sand, gravel-sized particles that glued together. A chemical rock can be identified because if I drop a little piece of hydrochloric acid on it, it's going to kind of bubble up. So that's one way to identify that, in addition to some scratch tests. And then biological. Sedimentary rocks are the ones that you're going to find fossils in. So biological would be in an environment that was able to get different kinds of biological things, whether they be plants or animals. I strongly suggest you take a picture of this particular chart to help you as you go through your virtual rock kit, or print it out to help you out. I'm going to go ahead and help you out by identifying sample number 1 and kind of walk you through my thought process as I look at this sample. So when I click on number 1, I see a rock here. It looks to me a little bit like maybe perhaps this is a fossil over here, maybe not. I'm going to assume momentarily it is. So based on its texture, I'm going to say I think it's biological. Because I chose biological, all of my remaining answers are going to be in this general area, which makes the next one easy, no grain size. I'm going to come up and I'm going to pretend like I drop some hydrochloric acid on it to see if it fizzes, and it does. So I'm going to assume momentarily that it's just calcite in nature, because I really don't see a whole lot of actual physical little fossils within there. It just kind of looks fossil-like. So then if I simply continue my eyes over, that means that I think it is limestone. I come down and I check it, and it is in fact limestone. Okay. When you're done with the actual rock section, you're simply going to go back to the actual different module and answer the questions that are embedded within there. Within the actual assessment, there is also a question this week that directly pertains to something around El Paso. So let me scroll down there so you can actually see what it is. The sedimentary rock, based on weathering and erosion that most people are familiar with in and around the El Paso area, is white sands. So this last question is going to ask you about the geology of white sands based on what you learned about this week with sedimentary rocks, weathering and erosion. So you're going to watch this ranger talk to you about how those white sands were created, and then answer the corresponding question. Let's talk about the extra credit that's being offered for this week. Again, you can choose up to 2 labs to be replaced. Even if you didn't do them, I'm willing to take this as a replacement grade. However, you must tell me which lab you're wanting to replace. And in order to replace it, it is an all or nothing. All or nothing meaning you must write a 300-word summary of your field trip, including what you did, what you learned, and 1 additional further researched paragraph. You must include 2 photos, one of the actual location where you're at and one of you in the photo. It must be submitted to me by December 1st to this email. So let's talk about the particular ones for this week. If I click on the Celebration of Mountains website, these are all kinds of activities happening all over the El Paso area for this week. So on Monday, there is a El Paso Zoo raptor rehabilitation one. That's not very geologically related, so I'm going to skip down to this one. This one is on Wednesday. If you don't choose any, I would highly choose this one because we're going to be talking about this in the next 2 weeks. And if you go to this, it's going to make your actual lab that much easier. It's discussing the road cut that is on the top of Trans Mountain. So the information is there of where to meet, and it is headed up by another EPCC professor named Rob. So if you want to go to that one, the information is there. In addition, on both Saturday and Sunday this week, Waco Tanks is having a fair. You can go out there, it's completely free. There's lots of different exhibits and different things that will be on display for you to check out. Other things happening, there is a hike if you're interested in hiking. A lot of you have asked me about this one. This one is Saturday also. It's to the Concordia Cemetery. A lot of it's going to be about El Paso history in terms of people that have been through here, passed away here, but you could definitely use this as your extra credit. While you're there, I suggest you kind of look around at the different tombstones, and your external paragraph that you write about could easily be about why you think some of the tombstones are more weathered than others. Definitely ties in with this week's lab. If you're into hiking and camping, hopefully the weather works out for you. There is this one that's involved on Saturday evening as well. And then of course this is Sunday's continuation of Waco Tanks. If none of those kind of fit into with your schedule, another nice one that's being offered here at the EPCC campus is this one. This one is on Wednesday evening. It's a pretty fast and easy one. On Wednesday evening at the Trans Mountain branch, there is an Earth Science Day from 5 to 8. You definitely do not have to stay the entire time. There will be a lot of different exhibits for you to come check out, including the El Paso Water Company, the planetarium. There will be different rovers that you can check out and kind of manipulate. There is a virtual topography. We'll be talking about topography in about the next week or so that you can kind of go check out. Again, all you would have to do is show up, check out a couple of the different stations, the different exhibits, discuss with the person presenting what's going on, write it up, submit 2 pictures along with 1 paragraph of extra research, and bada boom, bada bing, one of your labs is replaced. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, everybody have a good week.